Welcome, everyone, and I'm Casper Joy. And today I'm going to talk to you about a topic that deeply affects recovery work. Whether we notice or not, creating affirming care for LGBTQ plus individuals in a treatment and recovery housing is vital. If you work in treatment, case management, and residential settings, sober living or crisis response, housing coordination, program administration, this training is for you. My goal isn't to call anyone out, and most programs want to do the right thing. But many simply just haven't been given the tools, the language, or the training to understand what gender affirming care actually looks like. Affirming care is not political. It's ethical, trauma informed, and directly tied to treatment outcomes. Today, I'm going to talk to you about why this matters, what research shows, and how small, practical shifts in language, policy, housing decisions, and staff behavior can dramatically increase safety and healing for LGBTQ plus clients. So why does affirming care actually matter? Recovery is built on three things: safety, connection, and belonging. But many LGBTQ plus clients enter treatment carrying years of stigma, shame, or rejection. And sometimes this is from family, from faith communities, and even the systems that are meant to help them. Research makes this really clear, and Panchakos in 2023 found that shame mediates the language between stigma and poor mental health outcomes. This stigma doesn't mean hurt feelings, per se. It literally worsens mental health, and it interferes with recovery. And Pashkin Wolf in 2024 found that when programs are not affirming, clients experience increased internalized stigma, less trust in staff, and lower engagement. One participant even said that they felt like they had to hide their whole self to stay safe. And hiding is the opposite of healing. So let's really understand that affirming care isn't extra. It's a part of effective recovery and support. So intersectional barriers in the LGBTQ plus individuals and how they face it. To do this work well, we have to look at the LGBTQ plus identity and context. Queer clients experience higher rates of eviction, homelessness, and financial instability. Queer clients also, with the justice system involvement, often struggle to find safe housing because of provider biases. If a client doesn't feel physically or emotionally safe where they sleep, recovery becomes almost impossible. We really do need to ask, does our housing models assume everyone feels equally safe in a shared room or a gendered space? And we should also be asking, who gets left behind by this assumption? Lived experience can teach us also what policy cannot. Research is essential, but lived experience shows us how these dynamics feel in real time. In Beasley of 2017, transgender women living alongside cisgender men in recovery homes described both conflict and connection. Many said that they were misunderstood at first, but when staff facilitated conversation, safe boundaries, mutual respect, and trust began to grow. One woman even shared that, "I didn't need everyone to get it. I just needed them to try." So affirming environments aren't creating avoidance by difference. They are created by navigating difference with care. So let's talk, what is gender affirming care and what it is not. So I want to use some of the guidelines from the Human Rights Campaign of 2024. The Human Rights Campaign had a great explanation. They said gender affirming care is support and it helps people live their authentic selves. Gender affirming care is not surgery only. It's irreversible and it's experimental. They said for adults in recovery programs, gender affirming care usually means using correct names and pronouns, respecting identity without interrogation, creating safe, validating environments, and ensuring that policies don't cause harm. That's simple, that's foundational, and that's evidence-supported care. So let's learn some proper language. Let's do a little, instead of this, try this. By talking language, because language is medicine, it can harm and it can heal. So it goes both ways. And here's some common mistakes that staff tend to make in some of these treatment environments from what the research has said. It would be helpful to say, "He is a transgender." it will be helpful to not say, right? So instead of he is a transgender, let's try he's transgender. Or she is transgendered, try she is a transgender female. Instead of he changed transgender last year, you would say he transitioned last year. Instead of saying they changed genders, you would say they affirmed their gender. He was born a girl. Instead, you would say he was assigned female at birth, or when he was perceived as a woman, or when he presented female. Instead of saying before she became a girl, you would say before she transitioned. Instead of saying being trans means he's gay, really, gender identity and sexual orientation are different. And absolutely don't ever say, did you get the surgeries? We don't ask about surgeries unless the client invites us into that conversation. So affirming language, it's not special treatment. It's accurate, it's respectful, and it's trauma-informed practice. I think it's also important to look at what covert homophobia looks like and how it hides behind our everyday interactions. So some examples of this would be pathologizing the LGBTQ plus identity. That may sound like it's because of their trauma, but actually LGBTQ plus identity, it's not a disorder. There's also selective support, right? There's I support gay rights, but I wouldn't want my kids to be gay. There's invisibility in the language, by always assuming that a heterosexual partner would be like a mom and a dad, because many heterosexual relationships could be a dad and a dad. Tokenism, including LGBTQ plus staff or clients only so that they look to appear inclusive, but not including them with gender affirming care, right? Gatekeeping identity, by saying a bisexual person isn't queer because they're in a different gender partnered relationship. So if you think your comments might be microaggression, it probably is, right? Micro affirmations and do no harm in practice are the target goal. Micro affirmations are small, intentional acts that communicate safety. And some examples of this would look like correcting pronouns respectfully, saying thanks for letting me know your pronouns, introducing you with your own pronouns, like hi, I'm Casper, I use he, him pronouns, normalizing different types of families, saying everyone belongs here, but actually meaning it. Placing inclusive signs or flags without making it performative, not just on June, Pride Month, right? The do no harm practice, that means not outing clients, not telling people that they're a transgender or what their sexual orientation may be, not making assumptions on their sexual orientation or their gender based off of their appearances or how they talk or their interests, not forcing someone to educate the staff on their identity in the first place, not debating someone's identity based off of your own personal beliefs, and not tolerating identity-based jokes from other clients. Ethics, a big one, right? Here's why ethics must be part of this conversation. So NADAC, the Association for Addiction Professionals, represent over 100 counselors nationwide. And their code of ethics guides how we practice, how we build trust, and how we prevent harm. As a developing SUDC myself, a substance use disorder counselor, the NADAC training is a part of my education. And the LGBTQ plus affirming care aligns directly with our ethical responsibilities. So the NADAC requires no discrimination, including gender identity and sexual orientation. They require respect for client autonomy, that the client defines themselves, cultural humility and competence, preventing emotional, psychological, and evidence-based harm. When a staff misgenders a client, ask invasive questions, joke about identity, or don't know how to deal with it, that is harm, and it breaks our ethical obligations. Affirming care is not political. It's ethical, it's professional, and it is required. So let's talk about some safer steps for housing, right? So some steps for safer housing, to say it a little bit simpler. Let's imagine that we're reviewing housing placement, and let's look at a checklist. Let's ask our client, hey, so where do you feel the safest? Not just assume, right? If somebody identifies, as male, they look male, like, do they feel safe being in another room with other males? Because safety is not a one size fits all. In 2024, NAR set some guidelines up for us to look at as well. They said that placement should be based on gender identity, not on assigned sex at birth. Ensure that staff know the plan and how to support it. Consistency, it prevents conflict. Prepare the house culture, right? So letting everyone know, being that example to everyone. Making sure that we don't tolerate identity-based comments, because everybody deserves safety here needs to be the motto. Check in after placement, check in after a couple days, again in a week, 2 weeks, 30 days, and say, like, how is this placement going? Do you need anything? These small steps make such a big impact. So as we talked, affirming recovery spaces doesn't just happen by accident. They happen through intention. Safe housing, practicing micro affirmations, we can create environments that are LGBTQ plus, where LGBTQ plus clients can finally breathe, belong, and heal. It's not about politics. It's about safety. It's about ethics. And it's about doing our jobs well. So thank you for being here with me today, and thank you all for caring enough to learn.